back. This is Elliot Serrano and Jose Melendez coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us here on CCW TV, the Comic Culture Warrior video channel. We are now at the part that we call Last Rants, and Last Rants is when Jose and I talk about something that's been bothering us in comics. It could have been something that we've talked about before, something that's going on, so on and so forth.
But before we get to that, I want to throw a little shout out to Dynamo 5 Sins of the Father new miniseries. We were going to review it. We talked too much about wrestling, so it ran out of time. But it's a great mini. Maybe I'll write up a little something on the blog about it. But this is a great book. We talked about Dynamo 5 before in our trade segments. And again, we were supposed to do a trade segment, but we didn't get around to it, so don't worry, I'll do it next time, hopefully. But I just wanted to point this out. If you guys are looking for something different, just go back and watch our video, watch our review of the trades, and this is the follow-up to it, so I just wanted to point that out.
And there are several Dynamo 5 trades out there.
Yes.
So you're gonna find it's there. I think if I only had one issue with that book, it's the art. You know,
I didn't mind it.
It was okay. But you know, it's Image too. So Image, these are independent creators doing their thing. They're not getting paid up front.
Yeah, we had a couple people mention on the blog in our open thread that they picked it up and they really liked it, and so I just wanted to throw that in there really quick before we get into some of the hate.
Hate. And then Jay Faber, of course, a really good writer. He's been doing a lot more independent stuff though than Marvel. He hasn't done any Marvel or DC stuff in a while. Now that I think about it. I haven't seen it. He's doing television and stuff. Alright, and then another thing, and this is going to kind of lead us into Last Rants, because we were going to talk about trades, and again, that got kind of shelved for now. But because of that, I ended up bringing my copy of the Pulse. Last couple weeks, Barnes & Noble, I think Inside Man, was it Inside Man? Yeah, posted the bit. Rich Johnson talked about the Amazon trade paperback clearance that was going on there, and then Barnes & Noble had one recently too. And I thought, what the hell, I'd pick up a few things that I haven't read in a while. And I gambled on the Pulse because right before Bendis started writing this book, he was writing Alias.
Yeah, this is the book that replaced Alias.
This is the book that replaced Alias. And Alias, to me, is the best stuff that Bendis has done for Marvel. I mean,
that was the first stuff he did for Marvel, right?
No, he was doing that along with Ultimate Spider-Man.
Right.
So, you know, but Alias was kind of his kind of icon book.
It was a Max book.
A Max book, and it was more mature. And then Ultimate Spider-Man was his mainstream. So.
Which fit in with his previous work. It was just an extension of his previous work. Because Jessica Jones was a new character. It was a noir book.
Right.
So.
And then the Pulse reunites Bendis with his Ultimate Spider-Man co-worker Scott Bagley, Mark Bagley, and Scott Hanna does the inks. So I gambled on this because I remembered the chronology. Alias was again my favorite book that he did, and when I saw that it was canceled, that broke my heart. Because I loved Jessica Jones then, you know. And when this came along, you know, it was just hard to find, quite frankly. I mean, I don't think it really got ordered in the same numbers as
I remember
stuff.
The shop that I used to work at when they came out, that didn't sell very well.
No, there you go. Because this, I'm going to say right here, this is probably the last good thing Bendis has written for Marvel. Right here. It's not even really a superhero story. It's a story of a newspaper in the world of superheroes, which works really well. And this was back when, you know, Bendis was working with characters like Jessica Jones, Ben Urich, J. Jonah Jameson. It's how are you a reporter in the Marvel Universe? People might think that's a lot like Marvel's, but this is more of a, you know, again, more of a Lou Grant take on it. I don't know. Right here, for those of you who say that we're Bendis haters, and I still maintain I've always been a Bendis fan, pick this up if you can. Get it off of the Barnes & Noble clearance site. Find it.
There was just the one trade?
There are 3 trades. There are 3 trades. 3 trades collecting the run because it did not last very long, and I think this is the last thing that Bendis did that just didn't sell, outside of Spider-Woman, you know, which
is very recent.
Very recent. I want this Brian Bendis back. I want him back. This shows here. This wasn't that long ago. This.
That was about 6 years ago, right?
No, not even that long ago. What's the copyright on this? The copyright on this is 2004. Yeah, it was 6 years ago. Yeah. This Brian Bendis here, new characters, wrote dialogue, new story how to tell a story efficiently, new pacing well. This was an interesting story, interesting characters. I enjoyed reading it. Yeah, it was made for a trade, but it was a good trade. Oh, by the way, though, it ends with Norman Osborn being outed as a Green Goblin and being on trial for murder, which is an angle that is completely pissed on by the whole siege, or the whole Dark Reign bullshit that happened later. Where is that Bendis? Because that Bendis is not in this book here. We talked about Avengers #1 a couple weeks ago.
And we rarely ever review books back-to-back issues. Well, except if it's awesome like Invincible, then we usually do. And I wasn't planning on, you know, there's a lot of books that came out this week, and I wasn't really planning on reviewing this, but man, if this just wasn't just one big train wreck. And I know you guys think we hate Bendis and we should have Bendis, but
we're gonna explain why we have problems with this.
And yeah, in this book, it just had so many problems with this one issue that we felt that we needed to talk about it.
And I know, again, this book is going to be a top seller. Avengers #1 was a top seller.
Yeah, and this will easily be in the top 3 if not #1.
Yeah. And again, at first blush, if you read this book, much like New Avengers, we talked about that in the last series of segments. At first blush, you read it and you just flip through it, you can be pretty impressed at everything that's going on until you actually take it home, sit down, and read it. I'll even say the artwork in this issue was an improvement over the first issue.
Stuff?
Over in Romita, and Romita's by no means a slouch. We're big fans of his, but something happened last issue. I don't know. This issue, he brought it a lot more. It's too bad that the script really kind of like took away any real gravitas that the artwork had. What happens? Yet again, a lot of talk and talk. A lot of talk and talk. And I'm going to point out the 2 things. I'll let Jose go beyond that. But the 2 things that I laughed. I laughed when I saw this. There's a scene where Tony Stark and Novar, a Marvel boy now called Protector, are in Stark's lab. And up there at the top, if you look at really closely, the Avengers are eating pizza. So they've been eating Chinese food.
Thor's eating pizza while he's moving stuff around, and they're all just sitting up there eating pizza.
So they've eaten Chinese food, hamburgers in Avengers Mansion, and now pizza in Tony Stark's laboratory. What food product have they not eaten yet? I don't know.
Tacos.
Tacos. That's next. Brian, tacos. And then Brian Bendis kind of like completely disregards a huge thing that's going on within the Iron Man books themselves. Where if you read Invincible Iron Man, Tony Stark is flat broke. He's got nothing. He had to cannibalize a whole bunch of his old Iron Man suits so he could make his new one. Okay, all this stuff. The guy's got nothing, nothing, nothing. Here, Tony Stark again is rich with limitless resources and offering Novar anything he needs to make a time machine. WTF. Because if you, again, we've spoken about this ad nauseum in the past. If this is the center of your universe, one of this book's the center of the universe, and you're supposed to have a continuity where these characters, the reason they're real to us is because they're consistent in each of the books that they're in. Stuff like this totally destroys that illusion.
Yeah, because it's too much fucking trouble for somebody to think of a clever way for them to do this time machine without unlimited resources. you have unlimited resources. You don't even need to write. It just writes itself.
Right.
It's like, this is where we get the stuff because we can do whatever we want. But you put any limitations or constraints on the Stark character, like Matt Fraction has been doing, and then you actually have to think about how you're going
to work it through. Exactly. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right there. And to me, one of the biggest problems I have with Avengers right now is that characterization. And somebody linked on the CCW blog a bit that it was posted on YouTube. Marvel Agent X did an interview with Brian Bendis and a whole bunch of the other writers who were doing a signing at Midtown Comics in New York. And they talked to Bendis, and they talked to Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker and Christos Gage, who were all doing a signing there. And Bendis came out and admitted that he doesn't read he doesn't read any of the other comic books. He doesn't read Iron Man. He doesn't read, any of the... I'm like, okay, you don't read them. Do you at least talk to each other? Do you talk to the other writers and say, hey, what is the state of Tony Stark right now in Iron Man? Hey, Matt, he's sitting right there with these guys. Why can't he go to them, hey, so what are you doing right now? What should I know? What are the parameters? In this story, it seems like Bendis has no parameters to work with him.
Yeah.
And we found that he actually excels best when he has parameters.
Exactly.
Somebody even mentioned on the blog, too. That Avengers Free Comic Book Day...
That was the best Avengers thing he's ever done.
But, yeah. And that Avengers... Dark Avengers Annual was pretty good.
Oh, the one with just Marvel?
With Marvel.
Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah.
But what is it here? Can someone explain to me what's going on here? When I write a script, and I know I'm in the middle of writing my monthly, I've got 22 pages to tell a story. 22 pages to tell a story. That means I have to sit down and I have to think about what is going to happen on page 1, what's going to happen on page 7, what's going to happen on page 19, how's the story going to end, and how is that going to set up the next issue. I have to treat each page like it's precious real estate because I only get so much. There's no way I would be able to do some of the stuff that Bendis does here. In this book, he literally repeats. He has the characters repeating the same thing over and over and over again for 5 pages. There's no way I'd be able to do that. No way. And then when I look at the number of just pages with no captions or anything, just dialogue and little bits, tiny snippets of dialogue, I'm like, great googly moogly, man. Earn your keep already. Have your characters say things that move the story along.
They don't need to his jokes are getting so ridiculous. They're not even funny anymore. They're just so irritating. Like, when they're trying to have a conversation, everyone's got to make a joke. Everybody has to make a joke about something. It's ridiculous.
And sometimes that's all they do is make a joke. That's all
Spider-Man does.
Yeah.
That's all Spider-Man. I mean, we get it. We get it. Yeah. Yeah. We get Spider-Man's a smartass. But that's all that comes out of his mouth. Why Thor hasn't, just smashed his head with a hammer already, I have no idea. I'm sorry, Spider-Man, one of my favorite Marvel heroes. I can't stand him in these books. He's so irritating.
Spider-Man can contribute more to the Avengers than...
just smart-ass remarks.
Smart-ass remarks.
But even, Spider-Woman is, quipping, and Tony Stark is quipping.
I don't even know why you need this many characters here.
But the problem is that, again, all these jokes are so just not funny and flat that anybody could be telling them, and everyone sounds exactly the same. Yeah. Again. And even just more so in this issue. Because it's just Brian Bendis doing a stand-up routine. Yeah. That's all this is.
I'm telling you right now, if you read this script, we're talking without the artwork, just the script by itself, you wouldn't know which character was which. Yep. Unless you had, again, bam, who it was, right, next to whatever they're saying. Because the voices all, as you said, they all sound alike. And it's too much... it's too much playful banter and wit and being funny and so on and so forth. The character, the Marvel Boy character, they treat him as a terrorist. You kind of forget that he's a really tragic character. That when he was first introduced to the Marvel Universe by Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones, what's the first encounter that he has with the Marvel U? His entire family is killed. They're wiped out. They forget that he's not a Kree from our universe. He's a Kree from another dimension. It's like they never even talk about that.
Yeah, they don't.
You know, he's not the standard Kree.
And if you were a new fan getting into Avengers, you would know nothing about this character.
Yeah, I mean...
Because you know real backgrounds of this character.
Yeah.
They just say he's a Kree and he's a new Captain Marvel. But don't call me Captain Marvel, call me the Protector. That's all you know about his character. And the fact that...
oh no, he's no longer Marvel Boy.
Marvel Boy, sorry. Yeah. And the fact that Tony Stark is like, oh, yeah, you're going to come work for me, you're going to build me all this stuff. You know, because I want to use your technology. But, again, in the Iron Man book, that's not what Stark's about. Stark's all about making...
repulsor tech.
So he can power the entire world for free. Nothing to do with money.
Nope.
Nothing to do with profits. Nothing to do with this technology.
Nope.
No, not even any mention of that in there at all. It's just him being like a money grubbing, like corporate guy, like he was, you know, like around Civil War. And the characters are just, and someone made the comment on the blog about the only reason that they know that Thor is talking is because his
the font on his word.
I totally agree with that.
No, it's true. That's what I'm saying. If you read this in a script, if you read just a script, you'd be, you would say in your own head, you know, these characters all sound alike. They all sound alike. What's Captain America, the Bucky, doing in here? I've yet to see him really contribute anything or do anything. He doesn't act like a leader. You know, he's yet to punch or kick anything. Tony Stark keeps, you know, ordering everybody else around, and yet in the first issue, you know, Steve Rogers told Tony Stark he wasn't the leader.
Right. Yeah. But then, so Tony Stark wants the Protector now. He wants him to build technology for him. And he's like, I'm not allowed to share that with you because the human race would kill themselves if I did that. Which, yeah, that's probably the only good line to come out of this entire book. But then he doesn't have a problem building a fucking time machine for him. You know, it's like, but we need you to build a time machine because we need to go far into the future to stop people. But we're not in immediate danger right now. That's the whole problem with that, is that he doesn't want to share this technology, and there's no immediate threat right now in reality.
And here's the thing, too. Spoiler alert, just so you know. Right here, it's revealed that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... At least 5 different realities that the Avengers could see. And Novar says, you know, well, well, which is the future? Oh, it could be one of those. It's one of several. Yeah. So that at that point, if I were the Avengers, I'd say, oh, you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. We don't have to worry about it. We were told that it would be this one, and that we got to stop it. But since there's already the possibility that there can be several... Yeah.
The story's already contradicted itself in the issue and a half, and the story's done.
Because all the debate that they were having in the first issue about whether they should do anything was because it will happen, it can happen, you need to stop it, and now they've just seen that, well, you know, there are a lot of different possibilities. Oh, well then, you know what? Fine.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, if it's the old, well, we're going to have kids, our kids are going to stop, well then guess what? Oh, now the Avengers just need to practice safe sex. You know, how hard can that be?
No, but I mean, you made a great point that, yeah, he tells him, he's like, that could be a possible future. It's not the future, though. But we were told that. Well, you got lied to. It's Kane. He's a liar. Yeah. You know, that's what he does. It's like right there. You should have just, new point, been done, move on to the next story.
I'm done. And then you throw in the whole stupid thing with Wonder Man. Which
okay, so after that whole thing goes on, and then you get Tony Stark saying, time is broken, time is broken, time is broken. Sealing the Doctor Who series 5, like, plot lines for 5 pages. 5 pages. Time is broken, time is broken. And then Wonder Man shows up, saying, I told you guys in the first issue that if you guys were going to form the Avengers, I'm just going to kick your ass. So I'm here to do that. And it's just like, they fight for a little while, and then he just disappears.
I'll be honest with you, this is kind of turned into really real. On the one hand, it could be a total nitpick. I mean, we could be accused of being nitpickers here and quote-unquote being haters. Brian Bendis is by far...
Well, wait, listen, before you get into that, the whole ending, too. It's like, why are you throwing in new elements?
Well, because, yeah.
Just tell your damn story.
I know.
There's so much unnecessary stuff going on here just to pad out the story.
We had this whole problem with... what was the last thing he did? Where it was... Well, nah, even before Siege.
Secret Invasion?
Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion was a 4-issue miniseries that was just stretched out to 8 issues. Okay? House of M, which he did before
that. Was even worse, Patty.
That was another 8-issue miniseries.
7.
Seven? And that is not to mention all the tie-ins that also were included. Especially with Secret Invasion, where Brian Bendis had both New Avengers and Avengers under his belt that he could, use as fill-in issues.
But he didn't. But yeah, right.
I mean, he was just using to pad out things here and there. So it's fairly obvious that this first arc of Avengers is being written to accommodate a 6-issue story arc, which will then be put together.
It's perfect in trade.
Put into trade. So, and we've talked about this before. You are punishing your loyal readers who buy your monthlies. If you're writing for the trade, okay, you're punishing your monthly readers, because if they can just turn around later on and get your book as a monthly, on top of that, again, on a clearance rack. I got this sucker for $4. Originally retailed for $14, $13.99. I got it for $4 later off of Barnes & Noble. Where is the incentive these days for people to pick up the monthlies? Where is the incentive for you to go down to your local comic shop, okay, have a club, make that investment in this floppy, where if you know that, the whole thing's going to be paid out. And I'm going to tell you right now, that Wonder Man story is not going to be resolved in this first 6-issue arc. He's dropping that now, and he's using that. He will use that to later on set up the next 6-issue story arc or whatever. So, where is the incentive for me to read these monthlies now, especially at the price that they're charging, knowing that the top writer at Marvel is conditioned to doing that? I can't even remember the last time Brian Bendis wrote a standalone issue in any of his monthly books. Again,
that wasn't a free comic.
That wasn't a free comic. Yeah, the Free Comic Book Day standalone issue, which again we say probably one of his best Avengers stories that he's told in forever. That was the last standalone that he's done. I don't even know, where does anybody come in on this as an entry point? How can people read this book and want to get? How does this book bring in new readers? That was a conversation that happened on the blog
how
too.
it brings in new readers, because there's a new number 1 on there.
But
that's the only way that it's drawing in new readers.
I'm telling you right now, but I'll tell you, if I picked that up, if I'd never read Avengers before and I hadn't read Avengers, let's say I haven't read it in a while, and I picked that up, it totally turns me off.
Yeah.
Because the reason I can't read the X-Men books now, I've had folks time and time again asking us, review the X-Men books, and you talk about the X-Men books, X-Men Second Coming, blah, blah, blase, blase, blase. Guys, I can't make heads or tails of the X-Men books right now. It is very well known around the Marvel offices that the X-Men books are the toughest books to write. Not just anybody gets approached to write an X-Men book. If you can write an X-Men book for Marvel and do it competently, you've proven your mettle. Because their editors know that the X-Men books are a meat grinder. And you have all this continuity and all the status quo that you have to meet and all these things that you need to keep track of just to write the friggin' books. How hard do you, if it's that hard for a friggin' writer to write the book, can you imagine how hard it is for the readers?
Yeah.
So they're doing exactly that with the Avengers.
You know what else I noticed is that Hawkeye is actually in this book, and Hawkeye was actually in New Avengers also. So there's 3 characters that are on both of those scenes. I just thought I'd bring that up really quick as an aside.
So anyway, there are reasons for why we can be displeased about these things, and if you want to say that...
I mean, can you imagine any other writer besides probably Jeff Johns who'd get away with this? In continuity books? I mean, there's no... Again, I guess we have been hammering home this point in the last few months about continuity, and if you have a chance to restart continuity fresh, not completely, but with new story arcs and new banners like Heroic Age, then, keep everything together. How hard is it to keep your damn books together?
Think about it. I mean, for the longest time, let me use a parallel from television. For the longest time, I would say to you, hey, Jose, check out Lost. Check out Lost. You might like it.
And I say that show sucks. No way.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you say you tried watching it one day and the show made no sense to you?
No, I said the show made no sense, but it was also just a terrible show.
Okay, well. But Lost was a show that was steeped in continuity.
Right.
I mean, and there are lots of folks who would not watch the show because they said, you know, there's all this stuff that's going on before that I don't know about, and I can't just step into this and watch it.
But you know what? If the one episode that I saw really interested me, I would have been like, I'm gonna go back and watch all that old stuff.
If you had seen a mythology episode though, that probably would have thrown you off. That's probably what's gonna screw you up. But see, this is like that. This friggin' book has become like that. Unless you're ready to go back and reread a whole bunch of other stuff that's gone on before, especially Bendis' stuff, because really, the only way you're going to understand Bendis' take on the books is if you read Bendis' books.
And that's why this was the perfect opportunity to get new writers in on the Avengers. I mean, we said this again, time and time again. He's had 7 years. It's time to move on. If you would have gotten fresh new writers on there and get new takes on it, would have brought in more incentive to bring in newer readers. And because I'm sure that those new writers would have had to acquaint themselves with the Avengers again, and maybe go into some backstory, maybe a page each, which would be nice for new readers.
Dare I say it? If I were Bendis, unless you're going to kick me off that book, I'm not going to get out. I'm not leaving the book. If I'm Bendis and I know I can write that and it's going to sell.
Well, of course, I mean, it's the #1 book now.
Yeah.
There is no
where's
incentive.
the incentive? Where's the incentive for him to be? And why be saddled again with a book that many people, myself included, will say is really, really good, yet did not sell? You know, Bendis now has, I think the market has conditioned him to stay away from that kind of stuff.
And I guess this is also, this whole, you know, this wasn't just...
Armchair psychologist I am.
Yeah. I mean, this whole last rant is pretty much just about the awfulness of this comic, but on top of that, it's like, if people continue to let this stuff slide, and for years we've been telling you, like, and Bendis has just gotten progressively worse. Just not caring at all. Even before we would talk about like how he always, I mean, this is like the epitome. It's hit the point where he doesn't care about anything else that's going on. He's gonna do his things his way, or it's the highway.
It's successful though. It's selling.
I totally agree.
Nobody.
But I can't for the life of me understand why people enjoy these kind of books.
It's because, okay.
I mean, I guess that's my...
He's always, first, think about it. He's always paired with the best artists.
Right.
Bendis,
which is a tactic used by Mark Miller and Jeff Loeb.
Jeff Loeb. But Bendis is always paired with the best artists. You will never see Brian Bendis working with an up-and-coming artist anymore. Okay? He's always paired with the best artists. Well, okay, that Avengers annual, I know you weren't crazy about. The Mike Made You.
Yeah, that was terrible.
But you're never going to see Bendis... You're never going to have Bendis tripped up by the artist in this story. The reality...
Because it actually probably make him work even more.
Well, you know, but...
The
reality is, though, you can have the best story ever, but if it has crap art, it's a crap comic.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what a Bendis comic would be without the good art. It's just a crap comic. And people would see it for what it really is. We've been talking about how these writers, they just coast on the coattails of really great artists.
Some right. Oh, but I'm
talking about Miller, I'm talking about Loeb, and I'm talking about Bendis. All they do is they pair up with these really great artists that people love, and these artists actually really good. I mean, Jeff Loeb with Art Adams. I mean, come on, how can that book not sell? It's Art Adams.
Right. Oh, what happened to that book, by the way?
It's bi-monthly. Number 3 came out. But it's still boring. I'm talking about it. But imagine them with up-and-coming artists. Like you said, they wouldn't sell because the art is really driving these books for a lot of people. I really think so.
And I was wrong. Bendis' name alone can't sell, because if it did, then we'd still have the Pulse. And who knows, we might
still have
Spider-Woman. And I don't know what this new Scarlet book is. I kind of like been avoiding anything about it, but it's supposed to be incredible, but we'll see.
Well, it's the same team as Spider-Woman, though.
Yeah, it's yeah. And I love Gatos' stuff. He does great work.
It's Alex Maleev, isn't it?
I thought it was Gatos. No? It's Alex Maleev.
I thought it was,
okay,
Alex Maleev did the Spider-Woman book, so I think it's the same team.
Oh, my bad. Okay. So it was, it's Maleev. Well, we'll see.
But no, as long as, again, the whole thing with with talking about this is that these writers just do whatever they want, and they just bring down the quality of the industry. Now, when these are the top-selling books, like there's no incentive for them to get any better.
They're bringing down the quality, in a way. They are punishing readership, and ultimately they will be punishing the comic shops. Because again, if everyone moves towards trades, it's only a matter of time. I mean, why? I mean, to me the question is, why bother? Why bother making that weekly trip to the comic shop if I know at some point I'm going to be able to get all my books, all my trades delivered to my door? $25, I can easily spend $40-50 at the shop. And if Barnes & Noble is going to give me like 12-13 trades for about $30, that's how much they were marking them down. You know, that's really going to undercut the local comic shops.
And when you have a choice of, this book for $5 or this book for $4, 10 times out of 10 for me, I will pick this book. Because you can tell that these creators in this book are having fun with it. They're doing it for the love of comics.
But the reality is that many of you are going to pick up this book because you buy into the cult of personality that surrounds it. You buy into the quote-unquote emotional attachment that you have to these characters.
And God forbid you get ridiculed for buying this when all your friends are buying this.
When all your friends are buying this, and on top, and I've seen this thing argued on the boards. Guys, you talk about the emotional attachment that you have to the characters. That's all wonderful.
But for me...
Well, understand, there is no emotional attachment with the creators of these characters to you. Because if they did, they would consider more how they were being portrayed.
Yeah, and I mean, to go back into the emotional attachment, I have a huge emotional attachment to Spider-Man. This is not Spider-Man.
No, it's not Spider-Man.
This is not the Spider-Man that I grew up with. This is not the Spider-Man that I have an emotional attachment to. This is a joke to the character and a slap in the face to every Spider-Man fan. Yeah, I know a lot of you are probably getting to the point now where it's like, wow, look at these nerds get really mad about their comics. These old grumpy guys and comics are different. No, these aren't the characters that everyone loved, and these aren't the characters that Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and Stan Lee that created. These are not those characters anymore. Those characters meant something to a lot of people, a whole generation of people. These are mockeries of those characters.
Spider-Man's getting booty calls too, by the way.
He's been doing that all year.
I know. Couldn't be married to do that.
Nope. So, I mean, if it's a new generation, unfortunately, this is a new generation. We've talked about this before. A whole generation of people, this is their Avengers.
That's their Avengers.
We talked about this when New Avengers was coming out. This is their Avengers. If this is your Avengers, fine. I feel really bad for you, but at the same time, I have to respect the fact that you like it because these are the only Avengers you've ever known. But do know that there are trade paperbacks.
Oh, lots of trades of great.
You can buy the essentials, black and white.
Yeah.
Just get them for $19-20.
I recommend the Kurt Busiek, George Perez run, which was some really, really cool stuff. It was really awesome stuff. The Heroes Reborn stuff was really cool. No, Heroes Return. Heroes Reborn was horrible. Heroes Reborn was horrible. Heroes Return was really good. So yeah, check. It's out there, and then you can find it on clearance. You get the good stuff. Oh, man. Piss me off. And for those comic nerds who sit and complain about comic book characters, hey, sports fans who bitch and moan about the starting quarterbacks or pitchers or batting averages and all that other crap, or people have their passions about everything. They get involved in stuff that is in the end pretty inconsequential. So before you point the finger about that, I would say, examine what your passions are. Anything else?
No.
It's fucking killed me now. You've crushed my soul.
That makes me happy.
As always, we look forward to your comments, your feedback on the CCW TV channel here and on the blog. Hop on over to the blog where each of these episodes will be embedded. Let us know what you think. Our rants, our raves. We try to make sense. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But again, it's all part of the conversation. Dreamland Comics is our cyber chat room where all of you can talk with us and discuss these things that we are all so passionate about. So, one last note. Hopefully by this point I'll have things ironed out about our podcast.
Wow.
Podcasts. Interesting podcasts. A podcast that not only can you listen to, but call into as well. Which would be kind of cool. Alright. Until next time, this has been Elliot and Jose coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for bearing with us, and we'll see you again next time.